Kaptain. I'm the board game captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we are going to be reviewing and showing you how to play Railroad Rivals. Now, Railroad Rivals is a game published by Forbidden Games and designed by Glenn Drover. So this is a game for 45 to 60 minutes for 1 to 5 players and for ages 8 and up. Now, let's start right there. So we've played this, I've not played the solo version yet, but we have played this at 2 through 4 players. Mm-hmm. And now I find it plays, from my perspective, equally well at the various player counts, but you actually have a favorite player count.
Yeah, I like the 2-player game.
And that's kind of surprising, because this seems more like a game that you would think would play better at larger player counts, but Lynn immediately, when we tried it at 2 players, is like, I like it better heads up. I like it just with 2 players. So that's pretty neat. So how about now, for the ages 8 and up, I think...
I think an 8-year-old can play it. They're just not going to be very good at it.
This is true, but the rules are fairly simple.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's just you pick... I mean, every turn you pick a city, you pick a stock, and then you play a city and you deliver. I mean, it's not difficult, but they're not going to understand the intricacies of why you would play a certain city or...
But if you're playing this with a family and you have an 8-year-old, I'm pretty sure you could get your 8-year-old in, and everybody else could kind of help them out the first few times you play to learn it.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's too bad an estimate at all. The 45 to 50 to 60 minutes is a nice range, and I think that's pretty on the nose. Though it can actually even go, once you're experienced, and if you're playing with less players, like 2 players, it can actually go quicker than that. So, yeah. So actually, but I think that's a fairly good estimate. So let's have a look at what comes in the box for Railroad Rivals. So you've got the rule book here. The rule book is incredibly well done. You've got tons of diagrams. You have lots of explanations that it all just makes sense. It's really well written. I read this rule book, and it's only, I mean, a grand total with optional rules, a grand total of 9 pages. I read this rule book in just, 5-10 minutes and was immediately ready to play this game. I was like, I fully understand it. I can teach you. We can play this game. So the rule book is very well done. No complaints from me about that whatsoever. Big thumbs up on the rule book. Then we've got the scoreboard and the stock board here. So the score is kept track on these tracks, and you put little trains on them, and I love how thematic that is. And the stock board is down here, where it shows you the current value of each of the stocks. Then we have an extra little rule pamphlet for some extra rules that were added in thanks to the original Kickstarter on this. But all of the games currently in print have this, and I spoke to the designer, Glenn, and he says he's strongly considering keeping it in, even if he does future editions. So I think this will continue to be a thing, and that is the water tower and the hotel. And basically each player gets 1 water tower and 1 hotel. And at some point during the deliver goods portion, you can put them down. Water tower allows you to deliver goods over longer distances, while a hotel allows you to get bonus points every time goods are delivered to where your hotel is. And we'll show you that while playing the game. We've got a bunch of cardboard punch-out chits, though you didn't have to punch them out. They actually came already punched out in the box for the various stocks of the different railroads here. We have some cardboard, double-sided player little characters. Each one has a male and female, and there's a few different ethnicities here. Let me show you some of those, which are very nice. I like the variety of characters here are really great. They even have some child characters, which is pretty fun there. And yeah, these are very characterful, very cartoony, very amusing characters. We've got a bunch of nice chunky wooden cubes for the various goods, which are lovely. We've got a bunch of nice chunky train meeples, as well as train hotels and train water towers. You'll see more of these out as we're playing. These are awesome. I love chunky wooden bits. We have a wonderful little embroidered cloth bag that says Railroad Rivals on it. This is to randomize the goods cubes. You put them in the bag and you mix them up and look for them. And then we've got a bunch of cardboard chits for cardboard squares, not really chits.
Tiles?
Tiles, that's a good one. Tiles, yes. We have stock tiles, which have the various stocks of the different railroads on them. Show you a couple of those there. And those are really nice. They look like old style stock certificates. And then you have ones for the cities, where on the other side they show you in the corners how many goods are put on them. And on the various sides they show you what railroads you can use to lay them to match up to, sort of like how you do in dominoes, where you're matching the same number up. You have to match the same railroad up to be able to connect that railroad. And that's it. That's everything that comes in the box. So now we're going to head over to the table and we're going to run you through a few turns to show you how to play this game. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how this game plays and how it feels. And we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we can see a 3-player game of Railroad Rivals set up. So in order to set up, you each must pick a color and pick either the male or female version of that color to play. So we have the yellow player is going to be going first, and they have chosen to be Elias Mounsey. And then Lynn is playing as the blue player, and she'll be playing as Maria Lopez. And I'll be playing red as Cornelius Provençali. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Then you take all of your engines as well as your water tower and your hotel in your color, and you place them over by your area. So everybody already has all of their nice wooden pieces. You take the scoreboard and you put it out. Whoever's going first starts with 6 points. The next player gets 2 more than that, and the next player 2 more than that, and so on until you have every player on the scoreboard. You place one of the 3 possible starting tiles out. Lynn, what were the 3 possible starting cities?
St. Louis, Chicago, and Cincinnati.
And you randomize that, you put it out, you look at the number on the corner, you put that many random goods cubes from the nice little Cloth Railroad Rivals bag on the city, and you're ready to go. That's really it. Then you just got to shuffle up the various city tiles and have them in a stack over here on the side, as well as the stock tiles and have them in a stack on the side. So we are ready to get going. Now the first phase in every turn is to draw tiles and bid for turn order. Now you only do half of this phase during the first turn because there is no bidding on the first turn. The initial turn setup is done randomly, and that is going to be the turn order, in this case yellow, blue, red. That is going to be the turn order for the very first turn. But from then on we start bidding for turn order. But the rest of that first phase is done. So we're going to deal out a number of stocks and a number of city tiles equal to the number of players. So in this case, as we have 3 players, we're going to get 3 of each to obtain. And since yellow is going first, they're going to get to take one of theirs first. So looking around, yellow decides they want to take Boston. Boston is quite valuable as it has 3 NYCs on it, and there is an NYC out, NYC Railroad out for St. Louis, so you can match it up. And also it will get 2 cubes versus the only 1 cube of the other 2 areas, so it's quite a valuable take. So they're going to take that into their hand of already 2 city tiles. I forgot to mention, you do start with a hand of 2 city tiles at the beginning of the game. So now it is Lynn's turn, and she could take either a stock or a city, and she chose to take a city as well. Which city was that?
Houston.
Houston. So now it is my turn, and I'm going to, instead, I've decided, you know what? I'm going to take a stock tile. I decided I want the IC Railroad. So when you take a stock tile, you lay it out face up in front of you so that everyone can see what stocks you have and how many of each stock you have. So now it is the yellow player's turn, and as they've already taken a city tile, they must take a stock tile. So they're going to take the CBQ NP Railroad, and they're going to place that in front of them. And now Lynn, of course, also took a city, so she has to take that last stock tile, and I, having already taken a stock tile, and there only being 1 tile left, must take that tile. Now we move on to the place a city tile phase. So during the place a city tile, again, we go in turn order, and we each get to place 1 city tile. So immediately, the yellow player decides they're going to play their newly drafted tile because it easily matches up to the NYC that is on the board. They're going to place it here, and what they're going to, Lynn is going to put the 2 random resources drawn from the bag onto it because NYC gets 2. They're going to make a linkage with their color railroad with one of their little wooden train meeples here to link that NYC Railroad between St. Louis and Boston so that they own that railroad, and then they are finished. So then it is going to be Lynn's turn.
I'm going to link Omaha to St. Louis.
With the MP Railroad. So that gets, I'll get your random one for you.
Okay, I was going to do it.
Well, you just like to do everything.
I know.
Here you go.
That's why it's on my side, so I want to do it.
Okay, in which case it is now my turn. So I have chosen to play Salt Lake, and I'm going to play it here, matching up a UP Railroad. This gets 1 good on it, and I get to place my train on it. Now the next phase is we have to deliver a good. Now these cubes that are here, these are the goods. So there are 2 different kinds of goods out. There's grain and there is wood. And the first person to deliver a good of any particular type gets 3 points. The second person to deliver a good of that type gets 2 points. And a third person or on of the same type of good will only get 1 point. You have a number of goods equal to the number of players minus 1 in the game. So in a 3-player game, there is only grain and wood being delivered. So we again go back to our first player and we see what would they like to deliver. And they have decided to deliver a grain across the NYC Railroad here. And when doing that, you put it off to the side to mark that someone has already delivered some grain in case someone else delivers grain. Now, delivering across the NYC Railroad immediately makes NYC stock go up. So in this case, we take the little NYC stock counter here, and we're going to put it in the one place on the stock board so that we can keep track that all NYC stock is now worth 1 at the end of the game. In addition, they will get their 3 points for having made that delivery. So they go up 1, 2, 3, all the way to 9 points, kept track of by their 1 train over here on the scoreboard. Then it is Lynn's turn. Lynn, what delivery would you like to make?
I'm going to deliver wood to St. Louis across the MP.
So the MP stock goes up, and you get 3 points as well. 1, 2, 3, putting you clearly in the lead. And now I have to deliver a type of good that has already been delivered because I do not have a choice. So I'm going to deliver this 1 piece of wood from Salt Lake to Omaha, which is going to up the stock of the UP. But I will only get 2 points for this, though that is enough to put me back in first place. Now it's 2 points again because that variety of cargo had already been delivered this round. Now, when we are done, we take all of the cargo and we put it back into the bag to keep it nice and random and mixed up so that when we randomly set up goods, it's ready to go again. So now we're back to the beginning of the next turn. So what's going to happen is we're going to put out 3 stock and 3 city tiles, and then we're going to bid on who gets to go first. So, we've got actually 2 stocks came up of stocks that are on the board. Those are actually valuable, so that's pretty nice. And there are some very valuable cities as well. New York City, which gets 3 goods cubes, is up, which is very good. So it goes to whoever's in the last place to bid first. So I will definitely bid 1.
I will bid 2.
The yellow player decides they will bid 3. And then you know what? I really want it too, so I'm going to bid 4. I'm going to outbid myself. I'm playing 2. I'm being a little schizophrenic here, playing 2 different characters.
How much did you bid?
4.
I'm going to pass.
Okay. And then the Elias will also pass. So at that point, I will take first. So I'm going to go into first place here, which means I will be going first, followed by Elias, followed by Lynn, who is playing Maria, and I will get to choose first. So I really, really wanted to take New York City, so I'm going to grab New York City. Elias decides they would like to take one of the stocks that's already in the board, so they're going to take the MP Railroad. And Lynn, what will you take? The other of the stocks that's already on the board, the UP. So it's back to me. I have to take a stock. It's the PRR, which isn't worth anything right now, but that's okay, because it may be worth something very soon. And then back to Elias over here. They're going to take San Francisco, which is not bad. It's got 2 goods cubes and some good connections there. And now that we have all taken it, we're again going to move on to the placing a city tile phase, except that I'm going to start this one off because I am going first. Okay, so I have decided to play New York City, and I'm going to play it here next to Boston, connecting the 2. New York City gets 3 goods, and I get to place my railroad on the connection between New York City and Boston via the NYC Railroad. So now that I have finished, it will be Elias's turn. So they have decided to place San Francisco, making an SP Railroad connection here. San Francisco gets 2 goods, and they will place one of their yellow trains to mark that they control that particular rail line. And then it is Lynn's turn. And Lynn, now in this case, Lynn is able to make one of those connections, not both, because the other one is an SP to IC. It's not the same railroad, so she does not make a rail line connection there. If there had been the same railroad on both sides, she could have actually made 2 connections with that move, but unfortunately she was not able to. So now that we have all placed, it is again time to deliver goods. So since I'm going first, I've decided I'm going to deliver 1 wood across the NYC Railroad over here. I'm going to put it on the side. Since I'm the first person to deliver wood, I will get 3 points, and I will up the NYC Railroad stock to being worth 2. Then it is the yellow player over here's turn to go, and they are going to make a delivery. They've decided, since they have MP stock, they really want to up the stock on the MP, so they're going to deliver grain across Lynn's Railroad here. And since they're delivering across MP, MP goes up. They're the first person to deliver grain, so they get a full 3 points, 1, 2, 3. But because they use someone else's railroad, that player gets 2 points. So Lynn will gain 2 points for the yellow player's delivery. And then it is Lynn's turn for a delivery.
I am going to deliver across the UP right here.
Ah, so UP goes up, and you got 2 points for that, yes?
Yes.
But with your 2 points you got on the yellow player's turn, I doubt you're that worried about points at the moment. So now we're going to start our third turn. We're going to deal out a number of stock and bid for turn order again. All right, so it is now time to bid for turn order again, and Lynn goes first because she's currently in last in turn order.
I bid 1.
Okay, yellow decides not to bid any because they are last place points-wise and don't think they can afford it. I decide to bid 2 because I do feel like I could afford it.
3.
I'm going to let you have it for 3. So at which point, Lynn is going to go to the front of the turn order here. And then Lynn will be going first. So Lynn, what would you like to take? Lynn goes right for that already high-valued stock. The MP stock is already worth 2. Very well done. I am going to take Buffalo because it gets 2 goods cubes and is therefore quite valuable. While the last player is going to take the B&O stock. And then Lynn, what will you take? Okay, what city was that?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. I'm going to have to take the ACL stock, and the last player, the yellow player, will have to take Louisville. We have no choice in those matters. So we're going to take all of them, and then we are going to get to placing our tiles. So Lynn goes first in the placing the tiles this round. So you placed Indianapolis there with an NYC Railroad connecting it to New York. Very good. So now I'm going to place, I have Cincinnati, and I'm going to place it here, and I get a double connection, which is what I was just talking about, because I connected a PRR railroad here and a B&O railroad there. Cincinnati gets 2 goods cubes, and I get to place a railroad across both directions. And then the yellow player places this Louisville here and has a connection with the C&O railroad there, and Louisville gets 1 goods cube. So now we're back to our delivery phase, and Lynn, it is your turn on the delivery phase. What will you be doing?
Going to deliver this way and up the NYC.
Ah, so NYC goes up 1 value, and you delivered wood, and as the first player to deliver wood, you will get 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Now it is my turn, and during the delivery phase, you're allowed to build your 1 hotel and 1 water tower. I've decided to do so. I'm going to put a water tower here in NYC. Now this allows me, when delivering, to continue delivering through NYC to an adjacent location, which would allow me to up 2 separate stocks. And then I'm going to put my hotel in Boston, which gives me +1 point anytime anyone, including myself, delivers to Boston. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be the first person to deliver this grain to Boston because I'm going to up the PRR and NYC Railroad, delivering to Boston. So again, NYC goes up 1, PRR gets on the board, and that is going to get me a total of 4 points, 3 for being the first person to deliver grain, plus 1 point because I delivered to my own hotel. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the yellow player decides to deliver this bit of grain here across the C and O rail line there. Second person to deliver grain means they only get 2 points from it, and the C and O stock will now be on the board. And that is how you play a game of Railroad Rivals. You keep taking turns and you keep slowly building out your grid map of the country, connecting all the various cities of the United States via rail lines. And eventually what's going to happen is you're going to run out of city tiles. Once you run out of city tiles, you'll instead be dealing out 2 stock tiles per player for the remainder couple of turns until everyone runs out of city tiles in their hands. Once you run out of city tiles in your hands, you gain points based on each of your stocks. It's really fun to do it from least value to highest value. So you would say, ooh, who has C&O stock? And everybody gets 1 point. Then who has PRR stock? And everybody gets 1 point. All the way up to say, who has NYC stock? And you get 4 points for each NYC railroad stock you have. So if, for instance, Lynn had 3 NYC stocks, she'd be sitting pretty with a total of 12 points, which can and does happen by the end of the game. Though actually, NYC probably would be worth 8 points by the end of this game because of how quickly it had been going up. So there you go. So now we're going to head back to the table. We're going to talk about how this game feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, welcome back. So that was how you play a game of Railroad Rivals, specifically at 3 players, though it plays very similar at 4 and 5. Though the more players you have, the more goods are available. You always have 1 less variety of good than players. And there's some optional rules in there to change up how the bidding works and things like that, which we've tried out and have been quite good and interesting. Okay, let's start with, before I get too positive, spoiler, I really like this game. Before I get too positive, do we have any negatives we want to talk about?
There's some of the railroad things on the tiles. They look very similar from afar.
Okay.
And I was thinking about...
Do you mean the little letter abbreviations?
Yeah.
So like the one like S&R and S&P, I think you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was thinking about this, and I mean, I know it's going for like a certain look, but if every railroad was given a specific color, I think that would have made it a lot easier, because then for people like me who had trouble differentiating just the black SP and SR, if one was yellow and one was blue, obviously that's not the same railroad.
Well, okay.
But again, that would make like the tiles way more colorful than they are, and I know they're going for that old-timey look, which is not colorful. So
it sounds like now you are tempering your negative with the fact that you understand why they did it. So it sounds like this is more of a minor negative for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like it's negative, it's a gripe, but you're not like, this ruins the game, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is kind of a minor gripe you have. I don't actually think I have any gripes about the game. I think the production looks really good. I love the cartoony characters. I love the little illustrations of various landmarks in the various cities. I love the wooden chunky cubes and the wooden chunky steam engines and the hotels and the water towers.
I think that the scoreboard could have been larger too, because the spaces where the trains go on are very tiny.
Well, they have done in an expansion, which we don't have to review yet ourselves, but they have an expansion with a larger scoreboard, because I believe that Glenn agreed with you on that statement. And we did play once with that larger scoreboard with Glenn, because he had the expansion out, and we played with the larger scoreboard one of the times we tried this. So there is that. So if you do not like the smaller scoreboard, but I actually, believe it or not, I prefer the smaller scoreboard, because the newer scoreboard is bigger and it's got sunken in pits, but I love sunken in like spaces to put the trains on, but I love the thematic actual railroad on the
well, I mean, I know they
side.
were trying to fit in the box, but it could have been folded in half.
Sure.
You know?
No, that's true. But okay, but how about the actual gameplay? Do you have any gripes about the gameplay? Because I think the gameplay is great.
Not really, no.
Okay, so now let's move on to some positives then. So like I was saying, I really like the look of this game. I like the nostalgia and old-timey feel to it. I like how they actually went with real-world railroad companies that were in existence back then and have their symbols on the stock chits to show you the various, so you can glance and see how well each stock is doing. I love the little illustrations for the players as well as the little illustrations for landmarks in the various cities. I think those are great. And the gameplay. So before I get raving, let me get some of your positives. What are some of your big positives for Railroad Rivals?
I like building the map with the different train lines.
So now this isn't.
But I like dominoes. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not a huge surprise to me because you love tile laying games. Like you're a huge fan of dominoes. You still love to play dominoes. You also were a huge fan of lanterns, and that was the thing. Was like this one. It gave me the same feel that lanterns has, but bigger. There's more to it. Because it's not just matching them up. It's then also owning the railways and delivering the goods across the railways and bidding for turn order, which the bidding for turn order reminded me of the bidding for turn order from Five Tribes, which is a game we adore. The tile laying reminded me of lanterns and dominoes, which was great. And then the trying to predict and manipulate the stocks reminded me of some of my favorite economic games, but on a much lighter scale. Like, it was a little bit of economics, not a lot. Like, just a small amount of economics in there. Even though that small amount of economics was the main way you got points for the end of the game. It was really how you won, but you only actually worked with it a little bit. It was only when you were delivering the goods that you really alter the stocks.
I also like that if you place a tile next to an opponent's tile, you can steal their deliveries. And
take their goods.
I like screwing people over. So tiling and screwing over the other players.
Big pluses, big ups. I was gonna say you do that a lot. You have a tendency to steal everybody's goods that they were planning to use to raise their stocks and use them to raise your own. I've seen you do that a bunch. I think this game is great. The strategy and tactics in this are very tight. This is one of those games. So first off, I do also want to say, I keep saying first off, so this is probably like fifth off, but the game feels when you're playing it like they have really play tested the heck out of this, worked out all the bugs. We could find no issues. The way everything works together, it all works together smoothly. Nothing that needed questions answered. It was one of those games that it was like a work of art in how well all of the mechanics fit together perfectly with no problems. The various cities all worked really well. There were none that you were like, there are some lousy ones, but there were none where you didn't understand why they were the way they were. It all made sense.
I think because the rules are pretty simple, there's really not any place for like discrepancies to appear.
But see, here's the thing. The rules are simple and easy to learn and easy to teach. Yes. But the rules are also different. You have several sets of rules for several different parts of the game. You've got the tiling, and you've got the delivering of goods, which does the stock manipulation, and you've got the set collecting of the stock to try to get the ones that are going to be worth the most at the end of the game. And those are very different mechanics. Even though they're all easy mechanics, they're very different mechanics that you don't necessarily normally see in a game together like this. And I think that very easily could have been messed up, could have made them not fit together quite well, and yet they fit together very well, like incredibly well. Like when you play it, you're like if somebody told you this was a lost game from like 30, 40, 50 years ago that was very popular and yet somehow went out of print and nobody had ever reprinted it and they just reprinted it now, you might believe them, be like, oh, these are all classic game mechanics and it works so well. Why did this ever disappear? This game is amazing. That's how I feel anyway. The other thing I really like about this is we talk a lot about enjoying games that we feel are modern day replacements to classic games. And the reason we say this a bunch is because when you have games that are modern day replacements to classic games, they're really great games to introduce people that are not gamers to gaming, because you can say, oh, this plays like this or this plays like that. You played that as a kid. You would like this. And the thing about this game is to me, feels like a replacement for two very different games in a wonderful way. And one is, you already said, dominoes. It's got the replacement to dominoes because you are laying the tiles like dominoes, and it's brilliant in how that works. And the other one is Monopoly because of the economics. But again, in a much better, more modern way, without all the crazy randomness of, you roll 2 dice and land on your opponent's Marvin Gardens with a hotel and lose all your money. No, it's just, you're trying to outbid them, and you have control over that bid on how much you bid, outbid them to be able to go first to get the right stock or the right cities that are going to help you have the right stocks at the end of the game that are worth the most money. And that mini economical game in here, I think, is fantastic. And the tile laying game, I think, is fantastic. And they both fit together into one game, and that also is fantastic. So, yeah. Anything else you wanted to talk about with Railroad Rivals?
I don't think so.
You're pretty good? So there you have it. Now we're going to give our ratings. Do you want to go first or second? What do you think?
I'll go second.
You're going to go second? Okay, so I'm going to go first on Railroad Rivals. Okay. I've been struggling with this one back and forth a little bit. The game is very easy to learn, and I don't often rate easy to learn games super high, but I absolutely adore this game. This game is so much fun. I've yet to have a bad time playing this game. The first time I played this game, I was in the middle of having a terrible stomach ache, the kind of which that would have ended a normal night for me, but I was like, no, because I want to finish playing this game. That's how much I was enjoying this game. Enough to ignore horrible pain. I really like this game. Every time I played it, I loved it. I want to play it more and more and more and more. I thoroughly enjoy it. This might be one of my absolute favorite tile laying games. And then on top of that, I really like the little mini economics in there too. So because of all these reasons and everything I've talked about already, I'm going to give Railroad Rivals, I had a tongue twister there, Railroad Rivals, 9 out of 10 stars. This game is great. I really enjoy it. I've played a bunch of games that Glenn has designed now, and I have to say, I think this is my favorite of his designs so far. I really love this one. So what about you?
I'm going to give 2 scores.
What?
For the 2-player game.
Oh, you know what? Just go with the 2-player game, because if that's your favorite way to play it, then you should go with that score.
I still want to say.
Oh, okay. All right, so go ahead then.
My 2-player game is going to be an 8.
Okay, that's really high.
And for all other player counts, except for the 1 player, because I never played 1 player, is 7.
Okay, so now you're a full star higher with 2 players. So now, if we only played this at 2 players, you're an 8, and I'm a 9, and those are 2 really high scores. That's 17 total stars between the 2 of us. So you're just not as big a fan. Though 7 is still, you like it and play almost anytime someone asks. So that's for 3 and 4 and 5 players. So you still really like this at 3 and 4 and 5. You just love it at 2. Is that basically the gist? So would you agree that so I guess you do agree that this game is phenomenal. I mean,
I wouldn't say phenomenal. It's not a 10.
Okay, but it's an 8.
Yeah.
8 is very good. Okay, so there you have it. So that's 8 stars from Lynn, 9 stars from me. That's 2 thumbs way up from us here at the Board Game Captain. We both really enjoyed Railroad Rivals, and I think we're going to play a heck of a lot more of it in the not-too-distant future, because obviously we both like it a lot. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, either on the game of Railroad Rivals or on this video, feel free to put them in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed watching this review and tutorial video and you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube, and ring that bell so you get alerts every time I upload a new video. And if you're in a position to and want to help the channel and support future content and even future giveaways, feel free to join my Patreon. There'll be a link in the description down below. And until next time, game on.